Breaking, a video has just been leaked of former President Donald Trump talking to RFK Jr. about the assassination attempt. This is a recent conversation. He also mentioned what he had talked about with President Joe Biden when Biden called Trump to check in on him after the attempted assassination. Let's listen to some of that.
I agree with you, man. Something's wrong with that whole system. And, and it's the doctors you find. Remember I said I want to do small doses. Small doses. When you feed a baby, Bobby, a vaccination that is like 38 different vaccines, and it looks like it's meant for a horse, not a 10-pound or 20-pound baby. It looks like you should be giving a horse this. And do you ever see the size of it, right? It's this massive. And then you see the baby all of a sudden starting to change radically. I've seen it too many times. And then you hear that it doesn't have an impact, right? But you and I talked about that a long time ago. And anyway, I would love you to do something. And I think it'll be so good for you and so big for you. And we're going to win. We're going to win. We're way ahead of the guy. And, he's interesting. It was very nice, actually. He called me. And he said, how did you choose to move to the right? So I guess that's, people say, if I was looking straight on, right? He said, I said, I was just showing a chart. I didn't have to tell him the chart was on all the people pouring into our country, right? But I just turned my head to show the chart. And something wrapped me. It felt like a giant, like the world's largest mosquito. And it was a bullet going around. What did they call that, an AR-15 or something? That was a big gun. Those are pretty tough guns, right?
RFK Jr. has since apologized to Trump for that segment of their call being leaked. He writes on X, when President Trump called me, I was taping with an in-house videographer. I should have ordered the videographer to stop recording immediately. I am mortified that this was posted. I apologize to the president.
RFK Jr.'s son, Bobby Kennedy, had shared the leaked video and tweeted, quote, I'm a firm believer that these sorts of conversations should be had in public. Here's Trump giving his real opinion to my dad about vaccinating kids. This was the day after the assassination attempt. He deleted that tweet soon after and then tweeted, quote, removed last one for mistaking sarcasm for real life. Very intriguing. I think Donald Trump's whole ploy there, yeah, vaccines are weird, right? Can I have your 8% vote share, Bobby, please? He sounds like an LA talent agent. He's like, this would be so big for you, Bobby. You should serve with me. It sounds like a deal in exchange for endorsement of Trump from RFK Jr. that he would be in the cabinet, maybe an HHS where he would be dealing with the questionable system that Trump refers to. Something's wrong with that whole system, then talks about vaccines. Seems to be the healthcare system in America.
Yeah, he was previously talked about, RFK Jr. was, I think, maybe by DeSantis or by as FDA or CDC, which would be, radically different, actually, roles. This is not all the same. But you're right, that's what that conversation sounds like. Trump offering him something in exchange for dropping out and an endorsement. Don't know if that's likely to happen whatsoever. Because, with RFK Jr. in the race, for all the talk from media and Democrats about how RFK Jr. is some kind of spoiler or is hurting Biden because he's actually right-wing and he's actually trying to help Trump. None of that adds up at all if he's in the race. If you think he's more sympathetic with Trump or more in cahoots with Trump or that he's drawing on the same supporters as Trump, his presence in the race then actually hurts Trump. Now, because it's taking votes away from him. You can't vote for both Trump and RFK Jr. Now, the data, the polling so far shows that RFK Jr. really draws from both, or he's also drawing from people who aren't going to vote for Trump or Biden, and it's not obvious that he's hurting more one than the other, so the kind of panic from the media has been, I think, not connected to reality. Obviously, if he were to get out of the race and formally support Trump, that would help Trump. I have no idea whether he's even considering doing that. He has maintained so far that he's not, that he wants to be president, that he doesn't think Biden or Trump are fit to serve an additional term, and that he is working He's spending money. He's making an effort to get on the ballot in all the states. So I don't know that kind of deal is going to happen. It was interesting, though, to hear Trump, privately try to reassure RFK Jr. that he shares his attitude on some aspects of vaccination, wondering if too much vaccination can be overwhelming or unhealthy for babies. Specifically, that was a view that Trump was taking there. I think Trump actually may have weighed in on the vaccines causing autism idea that I should say is not accepted by most medical experts. I think he said that some years ago. But yeah, interesting.
That it was a vaccine that looked like it was meant for horses. I don't think Trump is qualified to be a veterinarian or a horse doctor nor a baby doctor, so I don't think he knows the difference there. I love that he says feeding the baby vaccines, though. You picture like a very large syringe being put into the baby's mouth. It just, he also says he got small doses, that he like negotiated with the doctor, like only give me half of that. I don't think that's, I don't think a doctor would do that.
It is the case, right, that for the COVID vaccine at least, they, some medical experts have said, not for babies necessarily. I mean, babies are at incredibly low risk of a negative COVID health outcome anyway, so they are not the priority group to vaccinate. For teenage males between a certain age, because of the still low but not totally negligible risk of myocarditis, some medical experts, Fauci has even Fauci said this at one point, that, well, if you're concerned about that, why not a half dose for this age group? So that's not if we're talking about young males, that's not a totally out there or wild idea. For babies, I'm not sure that's what they said, although for COVID specifically, the need to vaccinate babies is not very profound.
We also did get some insight into what the phone call looked like between Biden and Trump after the shooting.
Yes.
Hilarious that Trump says he was actually very nice, as if Biden's going to call, be like, I'm going to beat you, bozo, and then like hangs up. Like, what was he expecting him to be mean after he got shot? Yeah. But interesting when he said that Biden asked, why did you choose to move to the right? I thought that meant politically, because Trump used to be a New York liberal, but it's almost like Biden's asking for tips on how to dodge a bullet from Donald Trump. But it sounds like they had a pretty genuine conversation, a genuine exchange. Glad you're all right. Crazy situation. But Donald Trump describes the bullet. It sounded like a giant, like the world's largest mosquito. And it was a bullet. What do they call that? An AR-15 or something? That's a big gun. Hilarious description.
That's a very human reaction. I mean, that might very well be, he's a poet. He's describing it as a giant mosquito. I can imagine that is what it sounds like.
A poetic metaphor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a very scary situation. Amazing that it grazed his head and barely hit his ear.
I mean, that is amazing. I'm not sure we fully appreciated that yesterday, because I want to say this without sounding crazy, but the reality that he was struck by an assassin's bullet, but he was just grazed by it. He's not in any serious harm. He has a bandage on his ear. We're going to talk about that later in the show. That's the kind of thing that, when this happens in action movies or something, the protagonist, the bullet just goes past you or something, lightly grazed. That doesn't happen in real life. It's you got shot or you didn't.
Maybe it doesn't, Robbie, and maybe it was all staged.
Well, right, that's not what I'm trying to say. I don't think it was staged.
Maybe that's what Biden's
wasn't
saying.
I mean, even if you...
Biden's like, how'd you choose to move to the right? I don't know.
Yeah, and even if you were trying, let's say you believed in the wildest conspiracy theory about this, that this was a the Secret Service allowed this to happen, or let's say you think this was a false flag. Trump wanted someone to shoot him in the ear in order to gain more popularity. It's not it just can't be done that reliably. The odds that it would just totally miss you or kill you dead are so staggering.
You don't think the brave men and women in the U.S. military have a precise shot, Robbie?
Not with an assault rifle.
Yeah,
not with an AR-15, I mean. Maybe with
an Armalite rifle, Robbie.
a sniper rifle, perhaps.
Yeah.
No, still no. You would not.
But we haven't seen the bullet. How do we know?
Yeah. Well, and we know this guy is not a professional sniper either. He was kicked out of he was not allowed to join the gun club in high school, is what the reporting has said. Obviously, we're still waiting for more details about the shooter.
Right.
All right, we've got a lot more to discuss today on the show. Stay tuned. More Rising right after this.